where we'll discuss the ABC physical education curriculum model, also known as we'll just call ABC. This is chapter 4 in our textbook. The objectives for this podcast are to just provide an overview of the ABC physical education curriculum model, since we'll be spending more time on details of this model. It's all in the numbers. If you read through the chapter, or I assume you have already read the chapter, that there are several numbers that describe the ABC model. There are 5 components of the ABC model and 11 or 10, depending on how you count things, steps in the ABC model. Now the 5 components are the program planning, assessing, implementation planning, teaching, and evaluation. Now these 5 components are linked to one another, or they are interdependent components. On the page 67 of the book, they have a nice diagram there, or figure, that shows how each one of these components are linked with one another. And just as a reminder, the ABC model is just a process to use in developing a total educational plan. The program planning component is what we're going to spend the majority of our time in this class discussing, which is curriculum development. Planning on what you want your students to learn and what you're going to teach them on a daily plan and a yearly plan and a total educational plan if you're going to do a K through 12 type setting. So it's the process of planning what you want your students to do over the year, over the time of your program. Assessing is assessment, understanding what students should learn over the time that they're in the program. In later chapters in this textbook, you should develop a quality assessment plan, total plan, and for each of your large outcomes, program goals, and you need to develop assessment plans for each unit, chapter, lesson that you are developing. Assessment is critical in standards-based education. The third step there, implementing the plan. How are you going to go about actually putting that plan in order or in process and get it going? Teaching, most of us are probably most familiar with this component, is the actual teaching of the curriculum. Again, this textbook does a really good job of explaining effective ways to teach. And the step or component number 5 is program evaluation. How do we know that the curriculum that we develop is actually working? I actually talk about program evaluation. I'll probably use more information from another textbook, but I think this textbook provides you some good information. You have to dig through it. So again, 5 components, and then we have 11 steps, and some could say there's 10. And we're going to go over each one of these steps in detail. Each one of these steps will be part of our steps are developing our program philosophy. In addition, I'm going to ask you to develop not only your program philosophy, but describe your values that you have, what beliefs about your educational beliefs that are part of your philosophy, and develop a mission statement. The second step of the ABC model is defining your program goals. Those are your big things that you want your students to know by the time you're done with the program. Step 3 is identifying the different policies. The policies would be things like the state mandated curriculum. You have district policies on how often you teach your classes. Some states you only teach every other day or once a week, so those are different policies that you have to identify in your curriculum. In policies and procedures, actually, I think that's supposed to be resources. I may have made a mistake in my PowerPoint there. I believe that is actually policies and resources. My bad. Policies and resources. Your resources are how much gym space or how much fields you have, how much equipment that you have, and all those different things. So step 3 is identifying your policy and procedures and identifying the resources that you have available to you. Step 4 is delineating objectives for each goal. So with each one of your program goals, you want to break that down into particular objectives that you want your students to know from each one of those goals. Step 5 is establishing program goal emphasis. This is where we will prioritize our program goals emphasis. Step 6 is we'll calculate the available instructional time. We'll do some math, some really simple math to determine how much complete instructional time we have over the academic year. Step 7, you'll calculate the average objective mastery times. You have to be creative here. How long do you think it will take for you to have the students master each objective in your curriculum? Step 8, you're going to calculate how much content can be included in the curriculum. We'll use step 6 and step 7 to help us calculate those numbers. And don't be too frightened by the math. It's really not too difficult. It's just adding, subtracting, and dividing, those type of things. Step 9 I call scope and sequence. In the textbook they call it sequencing the content across the curriculum from the bottom up developmentally. This is how you're going to teach it and in what order will you teach that. Step 10 is an optional step that for our assignment is developing teaching and learning maps. How will you